Hey guys, how's it going? Michael Troy here, and today we're looking at Ash from Joe Quesada and Jimmy Palmiotti in Event Comics. Okay, this one is actually really cool, so I'm glad I came across this. I think you guys will think this is fun. Are you fans of Joe Quesada? Joe Quesada, probably most known for being editor-in-chief at Marvel for quite some time, doing a lot of great things over there with his Marvel Knights that he started. Well, he started Marvel Knights before becoming EIC, so, but he worked at Marvel, he worked at DC, he worked, he did the Azrael Batman. It's funny, there must be fans of the Azrael Batman who became Batman, like a religious Batman became Batman when Bane broke Batman's back, and then Azrael took over, and I think I read some of it. That probably is where I first discovered Joe Quesada's work, but I was never a huge fan of Azrael. I mean, who needs that crap? Who needs a religious Batman? Not me. So, Joe did stuff for Marvel too. Most notably, his work with Peter David on X Factor. Lots of fun stuff there. And then, this is pretty much around the time Image Comics started. Well, I guess they've been around for a while, but in the 90s, a lot of creators were doing their own, creator-owned books, and there were a lot of independent publishers. So Joe Quesada and Jimmy Palmiotti did Event Comics, and Ash is their character. And this is, like, a great book. I love this book. I feel like Event did a lot of fun, good books like this, and Painkiller Jane. And obviously Marvel felt so too, because it led them to, give them their Marvel Knights imprint, where they did, like, Punisher and Ghost Rider and sort of the darker books like Daredevil and I'm sure more that I can't think of right now. But I love Joe Quesada's art. I feel like it's definitely stylized. I mean, I feel like it's unique. It definitely has some of that, like, Jim Lee hatching and lighting and image feel, but I feel like he's just, like, a very accomplished artist. I mean, this is just, like, dynamic to me. He draws, like, really great, like, the character is so big on the cover. I just love that. His larger than life, I guess, is how you could describe his work. So this is Joe Quesada, pencils and story, Jimmy Palmiotti, inks and story. They were, like, best friends, working together forever. Jimmy inked everything Joe did. They were co-editors at, Marvel Knights, and then I don't know what happened. I feel like they had a falling out. I think they're still friends. Joe became editor-in-chief of Marvel, and since works in Marvel Entertainment on the film side, so he's still around. Every once in a while, you rarely ever, I mean, he did that god-awful One More Day story with J. Michael Straczynski, where they eliminated Peter and Mary Jane's marriage, probably for the best. But, I think that this storyline was so kind of lamented that people don't really dwell on that. But let's get into this book. I keep rambling. Chris Eliopoulos, letterer, and who's the colors? Ruben Rude with Digital Comedian. He was big in the 90s. And this is a great concept because Ash is like a firefighter who gets superpowers. And I feel like that was totally original. Like, this is even before 9/11. So, I think that's when we really started celebrating, first responders and firefighters and policemen as the heroes that they are and always have been. But, coming from New York, I'm sure Joe probably had firefighters in his family or knew some or just had a big respect for them. And I love firefighters. Anytime I've ever met a firefighter, they've always been so nice and cool and had such great energy. And it just takes somebody special to do that. So it's kind of cool to turn him into a superhero. And the costume's cool. This is his arch enemy, the actor, which is, I feel like, a big play on, Batman, of course, like the Joker, the actor. But, obviously the actor didn't take off like the Joker did. It's funny because I don't know if they ever tried to bring Ash back or if they ever plan on it. I would be totally down, Jimmy are Joe Quesada's cats, or are they Jimmy Palmiotti's? But they pop up in some of their work, or they used to anyway. But I would be down to see Ash again. Oh yeah, and then Joe Quesada, of course, did Ninjak at Valiant, which was great. I love the art on that. So cool. He does a lot of these like heavy shadows, and his style's pretty distinct. You can tell his eyes almost, for lack of a better word, look a little bulgy to me. Oh my gosh, and the guest event pinup by Barry Windsor Smith. Didn't see that coming, and I'm so glad. Aren't you glad you're still watching? Because you would have missed out on this totally badass Ash pinup by Barry Windsor Smith. And I have to say though, sometimes like he almost looks silly there. Sometimes characters don't look right unless they're drawn by their creator. I feel like Savage Dragon is a perfect example of that. I've seen plenty of really cool I see really cool, what do you call it, versions of Dragon, but they're never the same. Lots of cool stuff here. Just lots of great action. He always does these like really imaginative like page layouts. I love how it's almost a double page spread in a way. Like, and this is why, even though I do read digital comics, they lose the effect of this. Like, just to have this out like before you can sort of take it all in and just get the flow of the entire page. Whereas I don't feel it's quite the same with digital comics. However, digital comics look freaking amazing. Like the coloring and just look totally dope. So, oh my god, speaking of dope, look at that badass 2-page spread. I love it. I see, this is an example where digital colors can do good. You know how, and that's the thing, if you're a colorist, you almost have to be an artist yourself, because you can really screw up like the anatomy of something if you're rendering muscles like that, but it looks totally right. It looks totally on point. Jimmy Palmiotti is such a great inker. He inked so many people, and I always just felt that he really jibed really well with Joe Quesada. I feel like when Joe started doing his stuff for Marvel, he started working with Danny Mickey, who is like an Image graduate and does like, God, who did he work with? Was it Rob Liefeld maybe? Really great, hyper detailed inks, but I don't know, I feel like this aesthetic is a little better for Joe Quesada's style, but I guess it's your own personal preference, you know what I mean? They're both great looks, so, you know, I'm always just such a purist, I guess, and since it's so funny because I feel like all of these like offshoots and stuff like went totally balls to the wall. Like, you know, I think people thought comics were going to be this huge thing, and until the speculator market dropped out. And this was one of the great things about those self-publishers too, is like they didn't have ads on the back of the comics. You know, they could do these great wraparound covers. And how gorgeous is that? That is so cool. And just the little, it's funny because you can see, you know, like influences and stuff. It's like I'm picking up a little bit of a Bernie Wrightson vibe perhaps, and that's such a good thing. But I mean, that is a really cool cover. I really love that. And here we go for some more good stuff. It's funny, his costume looks really complicated to draw though, like there's a lot going on. And then when he uses his power and all those like fire tendrils pop out everywhere. But it's a very cool silhouette. So I'm totally down with tip of the hat to Todd McFarlane's Spawn there. I'm totally down for Ash. Whatever happened to Ash? You know, a lot of these things, like I feel like Painkiller Jane was supposed to get her own movie or series, and you know, a lot of things start and stop. A little cameo from Clark Kent and Lois Lane there. You can always pick it out. I think it's fun and fine. Who's this guest pinup by? No Way, Mike Mignola. Oh my god, these pinups are almost worth like the price of admission alone. how could we not love Mike Mignola? You know, this is a pretty standard drawing for Mike Mignola. I'd love to see like a new version of this, but very cool. Oh my gosh, we got Kirby Crackle, we got all this black silhouettes. Hellboy, such a cool character, and I can totally see these guys teaming up. They seem like they would definitely occupy the same space in such a cool way. So many great images in this book. I mean, that is just so cool. I love that. And the way the teeth are rendered just really makes it almost like 3D and pop. Like, there's a lot of eye candy. I mean, you're never bored. Like, there's so many visuals that just take you through this comic. I think it's really good. I love little things like that, where the silhouette just shows off the bricks on the wall. I mean, there's so many, like, that's the great thing about comics. You know, I always talk about the power of comic art, and just, like, your imagination just needs to just push and push and push and just come up with, like, you know, I think there's a lot of homages going on and people wanting to draw a scene, you know, like, oh, this would be so great if I drew Ash like, you know, that scene from the Wolverine miniseries in this Frank Miller pose or whatever, which is totally fine. It's fun to do swipes and homages. God knows I do a ton of them myself. But I just think that in a way, you know, do that thing, like that new thing that's so cool and so gonna grab somebody and so gonna become the new timeless thing that everybody's swiping and homaging. You know, 90s comics get such a bad rap, but I'm kind of, haven't really found many that I don't like. I mean, that was issue 2. We're under number 3, and this is a cool cover here. I love this because the first 2 covers were like so busy and so full, and this is a perfect example of how having no backgrounds can be very effective. It's kind of cool that they put that in there, like the little, to give you something of a background, but I don't even know if it was 100% necessary. I think it's very cool. I love, love, love. Like, this is just like the perfect use of shadowing and negative space, and great shot of Ash here. Very cool. So I think our creative team is intact, so we'll move past the credits page. And wow, that is awesome. That is so, like, it's so, it takes skill to be able to draw this kind of intricate interweaving of all these lines and stuff without having it look really confusing and muddled. So hats off for that. I mean, I think Joe Quesada is like, I hope that, you know, he's not doing like monthly comic books, but I hope that he's still like either sitting at his drawing desk on occasion, or with a big sketch pad and just busting cool crap like this out. Because, I mean, this is good stuff. I mean, I don't remember how successful this was. You know, it must have been somewhat successful for it to lead to their stint at Marvel, but I just don't remember. Lots of great stuff. You know, it's funny because I think one of the problems, you know, with certain Image reputations and books is like they're just known for like drawing these just great, like too many pinups and stuff. But I mean, there's such a great balance of that in this book, because it's like you got this here and it drives the story and it's like perfect comic book storytelling. But then wait, you know, for it, and there it is, and there's this huge, like, great action shot. So that is so cool. Guest playmate artist Jeffrey Darrow. Jeff Darrow's art is so good. Hard-boiled, anybody? Doc Frankenstein. Oh my god, are you gagging? So what is this doing in here? This, oh, how cool is this? I love this for so many reasons, because basically he's just doing Rusty and Big Guy and just throwing Ash in a car over here. But talk about fantastic. Like, if you've never read like Hard Boiled or Rusty and the Big Guy, I think that's what it called, by Jeff Darrow and Frank Miller. I mean, it is, you want to talk about eye candy. This is like some major Mobius realness here. And this is what I'm talking about, like the use of negative space. I mean, you cannot be accused of not putting a background in this comic, but there's all this space here. But it's such a cool use of the negative space that it, I don't know, it just makes you concentrate your focus and all your attention to what's really going on. And there's a lot going on. I mean, there's all these dogs, there's a unhoused person lying there, there's like, you know, street traffic. I mean, this is fantastic. I just would love to watch this guy draw. I'd love to see these pages up close. It must be mind-boggling. And I think Fluffy, I don't remember him. Kid Fluffy, or Kid Death. And Fluffy, I do remember some of that. But I don't think that's something I picked up. I mean, that's not super appealing looking to me. But this book is total bomb. Are you guys fans of Joe Quesada? Please feel free to comment. And what's your favorite Joe Quesada? Did you like Azrael? I mean, there was some cool art on that too, at least. You know, I'm always willing to forgive like a story that I'm not crazy about if the art is bomb, and anything drawn by Joe Quesada is pretty bomb. I mean, look, he's giving us so many of these great images here. What a great double page spread. It's so funny because it's like a running joke about the smoke here. I think they blame Mike Mignola for creating it, but he, even though he uses a lot for like mood and stuff, but this is like highly rendered, highly detailed smoke, and it's in the front and it's not covering anything, so that's fun. All right, one more, guys. So I don't know if this was a mini series. It probably was, or what they would do. A lot of guys back in this period would do like a series of mini series or something like that. That way you're not tied down by the, you know, the monthly grind or whatever. I think Mike Mignola kind of started that with Hellboy at Dark Horse, and he would do like 4 to 6 issues and then like take a break, you know. And I think that is so smart, because then you're never dealing with like late issues, you're never dealing with like fill-ins, and in hell, it's enough to have like 2 4-issue miniseries a year or something like that, as long as it's like consistent quality and everything. So there's the actor, his arch enemy, and this is actually a really cool double page spread. I mean, fire is not the easiest thing to draw, so, and I love when artists just throw in stuff like that. Like, I always feel like it's kind of like showing off. Like, I'm just gonna throw in this gorgeous statue at the bottom just to show that I can draw that. Here we go, guys. All right, this is the 4th issue. See, this is like a fun book. It's like, you can tell like a lot went into like the aesthetic and like the logo and even of the company, and just like, I like these title pages here. Lots of fun. So let's see what we have here. Okay, so this is going to be the actor, because we start out at the cinema and he's in the cinema. I guess he's sort of like a punk rock anarchy Joker, even though they kind of did that with the Joker. The Joker's now kind of a punk rock anarchistic Joker, wouldn't you say? Another gorgeous page, double page spread. I always liked how he did these borders around the panels too. Just a fun little flourish. His shading is off the chain. I mean, it is so good. That's giving me Mike Mignola vibes there too. But all these guys were so popular around each other and stuff. I'm sure they were constantly like mining each other's work and picking up. I mean, it's gonna be like any artist, you know, like if you're an artist and you're learning from comics or reading comics, and my suggestion to you is to not just learn how to draw from comics. You need to learn how to draw from life. You need to learn how to paint and do whatever you can, and learn anatomy and learn how to draw bowls of fruit and drapery for shading, and that way all your other stuff can excel and look so much better. You know what I mean? It's like if you know how to draw the proper folds and material and stuff, it just looks effortless and cool and how it's supposed to, instead of like jarring and weird and instantly, distracting. Frakum! I love me a good comic book sound effect. Do they still put sound effects in comics? I hope they do. They should. Because it's fun. Really liking the Joe Quesada art. This is really making me want, okay, wow. So this is like the mother of all 2-page spreads here with this Jim Lee. Is it Scott Williams inking it? I'm sure it is. I'm sure this is the time, unless Jim Lee inked it himself, but that is really cool. Classic Jim Lee superhero action. That's a gorgeous shot of Ash, and I love that so much. Very cool. And he sort of stuck to the aesthetic of like, this looks very much like in the Ash universe with the architecture and stuff in the background. Very cool. Ooh, another dynamic page layout. Yeah, he was into these super intricate, like, I want to say like Alphonse Mucha, the Art Nouveau poster painter from around the early 1900s. If you're not familiar with his work, he's very influential to a lot of comic book artists, notably Adam Hughes, and he's worth checking out. Alphonse, Alphonse, Mucha, Mucha, one of my favorite non-comic book artists. Although he would have drawn a killer comic book. If you look him up, you'll see why. The actor. I kind of want to see the actor more, and like, I don't know, he's cool. I'd like to see other artists draw him. Like, I'd love to see Bill Sienkiewicz's version and Brian Bolland's version. Okay, so, next issue. So I guess this wasn't a 4-issue miniseries, but that's as far as we're going today. So anyway, I hope you liked that look at Joe Quesada and Jimmy Palmiotti's Ash from Event Comics. Really super cool. Totally digging it. Anyway, thanks so much for watching. Please subscribe to my channel, hit like, and share my content, and I'll bring you some more later. Alright, thanks guys.